Should you enter the Club 100 Novice Championship? Yes! Oh my god, yes! These karts are so good. You have to drive them. It's so fun. You gotta do it. But let's talk about it before you commit, because depending on your experience level, it might be a bit of a step up. And if, like me, you were new to the world of karting, new to the world of competitive karting, it might be a bit daunting and you might be a bit unsure how to get started. So here I'm talking to people who were like me a year ago, who hadn't done Club 100 racing, hadn't really done much competitive karting. Maybe you've heard of Club 100 from watching some of Super GT's cool karting videos. That's how I first heard about it. Maybe you've seen some of the Alpha Live streams of the sprints racing on a Sunday. There'll be people who've done maybe British University's kart championship and driven the Club 100 karts, or maybe you're coming from other competitive karting, owner driver or rental, I don't know. If you've done that, you've probably got a better idea of whether Club 100 is for you. But there'll be some people who have no experience of any of this, and that was me a year ago. And I'm more talking to those kind of people to try and give a feel for my experience this year, having just done a year in the Club 100 Novice and just having the best time, really loving it. So my first message to those people is, just try it. Just try it. If you try it, there's no obligation on you. There's not really much of a financial commitment. And you can just go to a test, maybe go to a few races and see how you get on. And then if you find it's not for you, or you're struggling with the level of the competition, you can just walk away, and there's no shame in that. Essentially, with the Club 100 championships, at the start of the year when you enter, you pay a 50 quid deposit, and that's gone, £50, you've committed. But then for every race, you pay a £20 deposit, but as long as it's 2 weeks before the event, you can cancel and you can get that £20 deposit back. And you can talk to JV, the director of Club 100, and explain how you're feeling and why you don't think you want to carry on. And you can walk away, and there's no shame in that. And if you do that, if you try it and you walk away, you've still had a chance to drive these amazing go-karts. Again, I'm showing my lack of experience here because I hadn't driven anything like the Club 100 karts before. Obviously, you know, out there are similar or better karts out there, but for me, as like a new guy to all this, they're these awesome, powerful, just solid, fantastic things. My analogy when I was explaining to a friend is, if you drive a go-kart, it feels like you're driving a go-kart. If you drive a Daytona D-Max go-kart, it feels like you're driving a go-kart that wants to murder you. And if you drive a Club 100 kart, it's like you're driving a racing car. I've had the chance to do a Palmer Sport experience. I was really lucky to do that at one point. And driving those sort of racing cars at the Palmer Sport experience, that's what driving the Club 100 karts are like. They're just so solid, well made. You're on these brilliant tracks where they just sing, like these fast sweeping tracks. You throw them into the corner and you can just feel them. They're sliding and they're controllable. And if you lose it, it's all controllable. They don't want to kill you like the D-Max karts. Honestly, the racing in the Novice Championship this year was awesome, but I would happily have just paid the money to just drive around the track on my own and just set qualifying laps. And yeah, I'd have happily done that, and it would have stopped people from overtaking me in the races. So that, yeah, there's no shame, like I said, in doing your testing, maybe doing a race or two, and if you find that you're struggling to keep the pace or you're not enjoying it, you can walk away. Like, no worries, you've done, and hopefully you enjoyed getting to try these fantastic arrive and drive karts. So that brings me to the standard of the racing in the Novice Club 100 Championship. I didn't really have any idea what to expect, not having any experience. And I came from, I did a few races as a kid at indoor tracks competitively before giving up for football. Why football? Such an idiot. And then I've done, karting with mates and with work colleagues just at rental tracks. And yeah, I felt like I was pretty good, but I didn't really know what to expect and how I would go up against people in a proper competitive environment. And honestly, I was both surprised by how solid the pace was in the Novice series, but also pleasantly surprised at how I managed to keep up and hold my own. I think the important thing to note, and if JV or the organisers are watching this, I hope they don't disagree, is this is not a championship for totally novice karters. This is a championship for people who are novices to the Club 100 system, which, as they say on the website, is the fastest arrive and drive kart championship in the UK. So I get the impression that a lot of people who are on the novice grid have done fairly competitive racing before. Some of them might have done British University's kart championship, which use the same karts. Some of them might have even done a few Club 100 races before as well, and maybe are doing another season in the novices. So most people are pretty good. The pace at the front is quick, although there's still a good few tenths, half a second to the intermediate group that race on the same day. But what really struck me is that when you look at the times, say from a qualifying session, everyone is really closely grouped together. So in a grid of 30 odd people, the gap between about 5th and 25th on a given track is, less than a second. Everyone in that group is really close together. And that was actually the thing I found hardest to adjust to, is you've got to be on your pace the whole time, because if not, you're going to drop way down. So it's not a fully novice championship. And indeed, when you sign up, they'll want to make sure that you've done some kind of racing before on outdoor tracks. Ideally, maybe you've done some Daytona D-Max racing in the 125 karts, so they're a bit faster and more powerful. So the thing you might find is that if you're not in that sort of midfield pack, it might be a bit disheartening to see that you're sort of closer to the bottom. But again, don't give up, keep going. You'll find, firstly, that it's a real challenge to push yourself to be in that main group. And also, you've got to remember that if you're starting from anew, a lot of the people in front of you might have done a bit more than you might have been to these races before. So you'll find that with a bit more practice, you'll work your way up there. And again, like I said, just try it, enjoy it. And if you feel like it's too much and you need to go away and have some practice racing elsewhere before you come back stronger, that's totally fine. So if you are going to enter, what are the things that I loved about doing the Novice Championship this year, and why was it one of sort of the best things I've ever done and just the most fun I've had? So number one, like I said, for me is the karts, the Ferrari of go-karts. They are so awesome and so much fun to drive. I've really driven nothing like it, and yeah, love those go-karts. Then it's the organisation of the racing. So the Club 100 team is just this fantastic organisation of mechanics and admin staff, JV at the head of it all, test drivers. Everything is run like clockwork, and they pride themselves on getting everything perfectly prepared, running to time. The other great thing is, as annoying as it is to be given penalties when you barge people off, the fact that it's so well regulated means that, unlike when you show up to a rental race and everyone's just barging into each other and it's this crash fest, people actually have an incentive to drive fairly, and you get these great, close, fair races between really like-minded, pretty equal drivers, and you get these amazing races, just so much fun. Then the third thing is the group of people. I really loved the fact that it was this novice championship, and it kind of felt like we were all learning together and coming up together, and that means you can sort of help each other out. The staff are there to help you out, and it feels like this great learning experience. I'm a bit sad, I feel like I didn't get to talk to many of my other fellow novices, because on the day you're sort of so busy and so focused. But all the same, it's been great sort of meeting these people and driving with them. Then it's the tracks. You can enter, a series of races at your local rental track, and maybe they'll put in a few different chicanes or go the other way around to vary the course. But it's so great travelling around the UK to these brilliant tracks where the karts really work so well, and you've got to learn this new track and you find how the kart responds to these new places. And it also makes it a bit more of an event, you know, the fact that you're going quite a long way and it becomes part of this thing that you're travelling to this new track, learning it, having a great time. And then the photos. Look at these awesome photos you get. They're free. You can just use them. You can put them on social media or whatever. And as long as you credit Johnny, the photographer, the amazing photographer who takes all of these and provides the photos, you've got these amazing memories of you looking badass in a kart. Although I did learn from looking at the photos of me that unfortunately non-tinted lenses do look a bit dweeby in a go-kart. So yeah, all of those things combined just to make this novice experience has been so awesome, and I've loved every race. It's been fantastic. So if you want to do it, if you're up for the championship, what are some of the practicalities and costs involved? So firstly, obviously, it's not that cheap, right? Motorsport can be dangerous and it can be expensive. But when you actually look at the cost of Club 100 compared to similar rental karting out there, the amount you're paying per minute, per round, is not actually that much comparatively, and in return you're getting this fantastic product. So it's actually fairly good value, but it's still quite a lot of money. The Novice Championship itself, you're paying a £50 entry fee, and then for 2023 the price is £240 per event, which works out as 240 times 6, 50, £1,490 for a novice season this year. Now, if you want to know more about all of the costs associated with this, I would take a look at Sam Morris's excellent How Much Does Karting Cost video, because he goes through the entry fees, testing fees, equipment costs. And as an aside, if you're gonna do Club 100 at a novice level, you have to watch Sam's videos. Super GT's videos where he's at the front beating everyone are great for inspiration, but Sam is taking the experience of being a noob in Club 100 and recording his experience there, and he treats it all with this great self-deprecating, light-hearted attitude. He's brilliant. They're my favourite videos, and you've got to watch them if you're starting as a novice. So for the entry fees, you're looking at about £1,500. If you watch Sam's video, if you don't have any equipment, you'll need a helmet, you'll need some gloves, you'll need some boots maybe, and a suit. You can get that all if you're buying new stuff for about £500, but I wouldn't worry too much for your first test. Before fully committing, you might want to borrow stuff. You can look on eBay for old stuff. It's nice to feel like you look like the biggest, baddest racer out there, but for the Novice Championship, you don't need loads of fancy kit. You can get by with anything. You don't want to be the guy who's got all the gear but no idea. The other things you need to budget for is petrol getting to and from the events, because they can be quite far away depending on where you live. You'll want to have at least one pre-season test, which will be about another £100. You'll actually have to do a assessment. Club 100 will make you do a little test before your first race to prove that you're safe in the go-kart, and it's highly recommended because you will learn so much from doing that test. So all in all, you know, you're looking at least a few £1,000s for this season. It's a lot of money, but for me, it's money well spent. Equipment, like I said, you'll want to get some stuff, but eBay is your friend. When you join Club 100, you can join the Facebook group, and some people are selling stuff, so you can get some things secondhand. The main piece of equipment that is an absolute must is this, a rib protector. So it goes around your waist and it protects your ribs from damage. You especially if you're sort of slightly skinnier like me, you don't want to get into a Club 100 kart without having some decent solid rib protection, because they are fast and they are lethal and it will hurt if you crash. So make sure you've got some rib protection is really important. In terms of time, it's the season 2023 is 6 rounds, so that's 6 Sundays that you're committing. So it's not a big time commitment. For me, after those 6 races, I then spend about the next week re-watching my videos that I recorded on my GoPro and poring over the timing screens, checking all the timings. So for me, it ends up taking up a lot more time because I'm absolutely obsessed with looking at all this stuff. But in terms of a time commitment, it's only 6 Sundays in the year. For your first year, that's plenty, and you can enjoy it and see how you go and maybe start entering the bigger championships in the following years. So with all that said, if you are thinking of entering, what are my tips? What would I recommend as someone who's done the Novice for the first time? Firstly, I would say just talk to JV in the Club 100 office. So give them a ring from their number and just say what you're thinking. Talk to them about your level of experience, how much racing you've done, what you're hoping to get out of it, and they can advise you of what they think and start getting you booked on depending on the booking process this year. Part of that, tip 2 would be make sure you do a pre-season test. So these karts, if you're not used to them, there's a lot to learn and they're pretty overwhelming, and you don't want to be trying to learn all of that, finding how the brakes work, getting used to the handling in the middle of your first race. So they have pre-season tests at Buckmore Park. I did one at Wilton Mill this year, and you can do half an hour on an hour and you get to explore the karts and learn as you go, and then come your first race you'll be in a much better position to be more competitive and actually enjoy it. The other tip I would have is to spend some time learning the tracks before you go. So the tracks for the Novice this year are going to be Buckmore Park, Wilton Mill, Lydd, Rye House. So you can look on, there's loads of stuff on YouTube, Super GT, Rich T Racing, Walmid, who's one of the Club 100 testers. Watch these videos and they have track guides, or you can just watch people going around and learn the tracks. You can also, the Club 100 tester Nicky Richardson has these excellent track guides that he sends you links and he talks you around the track and tells you what he thinks. And it's quite expensive, you pay him about £100 for all of them, but it's really worth it. I think in terms of how much you get for that £100 compared to doing a test, it's well worth the money spent. The other way you can learn the tracks is by going to some of them in advance and doing arrive and drive karting. So for example, Buckmore Park have regular arrive and drive sessions, and learning Buckmore Park in a Club 100 kart would be quite daunting, but if you go and learn it in a rental kart there, like I did, you're going around at a much slower pace and you can learn the lines a bit more, have it a bit more manageable before going in the full Club 100 karts where you're going much faster. The next tip, I've already mentioned it, but I'm going to say it again, good rib protection. Like I said, you don't need any of the other posh boots or anything like that. Good rib protection is the one thing that you want to make sure you don't scrimp on. That'll get you through the season without hurting yourself. Then I would say try and get some mates involved. So if there are 1 or 2 of you who are all thinking of doing the Novice, try and get an entry together, because having other people there on the day to sort of commiserate if you have a bad race or help each other out with getting set up in the karts and getting everything sorted out will be really useful. And even if you've not got anyone there who's competing with you, try and have someone there at least on the first race, friend or family, who again can help you get set up in the kart, have everything ready, all your numbers and the transponder that you have to put on the kart. It'll be a bit of a help just to have someone taking the pressure off on that first event. But again, if you've not got anyone there with you, the best thing about the Novice Championship is that you're all there learning together. So talk to the other drivers, check if you're not happy with anything, learn together. That's the whole point. The staff and the other drivers will be there to help, so talk to them. Tip number 5, is this 5? I've lost count. Is that this is the Novice Championship, and treat it with the right attitude. You're there mainly to have fun and learn. It's nice to like be really quick and win races, and you should be trying to go as quickly as possible and to win races. But at the end of the day, that's not the main point. Everyone there is there to have a good time, and you want to treat it with that attitude. So, you know, don't go barging in and shoving people out the way and winning at all costs. You're learning together, treat it with a good attitude. And the Club 100 staff as well. They work so hard all through the day to make sure that you have the best karts possible and that the whole event is running to time. So be nice to them. Don't be jabbering on if you've been given a penalty that you don't think is fair. Everyone's there to have a good time. This is the Novice Championship. Hopefully you'll all learn and be moving on to bigger, better championships in the future. So approach it with that great mindset and have fun. That's about it. I think that's all I've got. Like I said, I'm no expert at Club 100. I don't really know about this. So maybe I've misspoke or people have better advice. If so, feel free to put comments on this and we can all learn together. Most importantly, I hope that you do at least get to go and try and have a test and do a few races next year, and that you do enjoy it, and that maybe this is useful. I'll put links to stuff like Sam Morris's amazing videos, Super GT's videos, although I'm sure you've seen those before, and you can learn more about Club 100. For me, I'm hoping to be entering the intermediate experience next year in Club 100, stepping up from the novices. So I need money to do that. So, you know, if you're watching this and you're the owner of some dubious cryptocurrency thing, or a dodgy energy drink company, or some weird betting company, and you want to give me your dodgy money to go and race, I'll gladly take it. Thanks a lot. Hope this is useful. Cheers.